Alright, I'd like to welcome you all back to this little shindig involving the Able site that we're building through Megaphone Designs. We got this part fixed up a little bit here. We have some work to do up here. It really is not going to be that bad. I promise it won't be. Let's start off by having some padding in here. And so everything's crammed together, obviously. And we need to get some separation. And that's not our right place. Oh, those are part of different things. I got it. Okay. Um, And, oh, wow, that's interesting. You know, in retrospect, it probably would have been better if this would have been set up with a different section between those. That's okay. We're good. So what we need to do now then is we're going to say that the this one here is going to have a margin bottom of 35 pixels. Let's say 45. Okay, and so we're starting to get to a little bit better spacing on that part. And then we've got this. I'm going to go and fix this at the same time on the padding stuff. For some reason it's set to just the padding top, and we're going to set it to padding 20, and we're going to change it to something else here in a moment. And then we'll do it at 4, 5, 6, 7. 7%. Like I said, 7%. And then this might change a little bit later because I'm going to change some color things that will impact exactly how this all falls together. But then we're going to make this top part. Well, let's start by making these widget titles a different color and centering the... Then we can center the icons, and we can deal with everything else here later. Not too sure why that ended up being set to that. You must have been trying to change something else, because I know you wouldn't have wanted this part here to be that color. And we want it to be that our widgets are set to be centered by default, because most of the time that's what you want. Not always, but most of the time it is. And then we've got this here, and we're going to... let's fix these also. This is what we talked about before with the n plus stuff. And so then we're going to say n plus 2. And then now it applies to those ones, and it'll be easier to deal with the code part later. And now I'm going to copy that. Then I'm going to add on the dot simple image. That's what it is for the part that's the image itself within those. And then I'm going to say float none, because I'm going to want them to be centered. And so then if it's floating to left or floating to right, which are the only options with floating, then it can't be in the center by default. And then we're going to say 0 auto on the margin. We're going to say display block, and then we're going to set the width, because we don't have a width. That's what our other problem is here. There we go. And we're going to set that at 140. And I think... I don't know what I'm doing yet on the rest of it. That's what I think. Okay, so we can't have it like this. We could have an extra thick border, and we could make it work like that. Anytime you get into these sort of situations of having things like this, though, you do need to be a little bit careful, because then you're having to deal with boxes that could potentially be different sizes, and the amount of text in these is quite different. And that's actually almost easier sometimes to be quite different than to be almost the same. But it means that they're going to look a little funny next to each other like that. They're going to look a little funny next to each other no matter what. So I think what I'm going to do is figure out what I want stylistically first on the whole. And I'm not going to worry about the responsive aspects of it right now, or even getting quite perfect. But I think I'll come back in and change the text here in a bit. Maybe even still within this video. Okay, but I think this works. In general, we've been kind of getting away from this sort of thing, but I think it fits with this company. It's a solid, trustworthy company. Square, rigid, thick lines, that all fits that idea. And so I think we're good with that right now. I am going to change... I said that it was going to have 0 auto, and I actually do want it to be, though, then on the bottom, then there's a little bit of separation like that. There we go. There we go. And I really don't think that's going to be the height we want. Let's go ahead and save this for a moment and then go fix up that text. Because that's just going to be too much text almost no matter what. And we can do that if that's what the client ends up wanting, but I think it's going to be too much. So we just go in here. You don't need to worry too much about getting the amount of text or the words said just right, because they can always come back in and fix that later. Professional. Peace of mind. Take out all that and take out the LLC because I don't like including that. Home inspection for one of the regions leading. Wait, what was it we said a moment ago? Central Missouri. Okay. By Able Inspection Services, one of Central Missouri's leading home inspection services will give you peace of mind during the home buying and / selling process. I think that works. Now, let's go see how that looks on the alignment now. That's just a little bit more. That was the wrong place. This is what I need. Most home inspections usually range. We can add a little bit of language there, between 2 to 3 hours. While composing the report, takes that during your inspection. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. It's their language that we've taken this from. But I think having that just a little bit of extra language there will be enough. And that's going to break down really quickly. Let's see if we can take a tiny bit more out of this other one. Let's go with among Central Missouri's leaders. That ought to get us close enough that then we can make this work. Yeah, because now we have some wiggle room with those there. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that we're going to have this be a minimum height. And then the way we find that is just by hovering over this, and then you'll see, I'm going to point to it with my finger and you can't see it, but I can't do both things at once. But over here, if you look, that little black bar that's above proven and trustworthy, and it has the code there, and then at the end, then it says 675 by 446, and so 446 is the height that I need my image down here to be. And so then we're going to say that for these, the min height is 446 pixels. Okay, and now they line up just right together. Now, eventually, then they will get squeezed together, and see now they're different. And so then when we get to that breaking point, then we'll need to go in and make responsive changes. But for now, we're just dealing with it when it's at this size. And we should be good like that. Okay. I think those actually look pretty decent. And now we've got this section here that's still a bit of a mess. It's a little bit on its own. Yeah, let's still do the triangle like we spoke of before, where it's the arrow, I guess, or something, where it's pointing downwards. So what we're going to do first is we're going to be changing this to a larger size, and we want it to be, I like blending in that color, and then we can make it a border of 4 pixels solid, and we'll take the color we used for our border down here, and that is too big of a border for that size, I think, but I'm about to change the font size, so get ready. And we're going to do it there, and then we need to change the padding, maybe just a little more on the height, but then especially on the width, we're going to add quite a bit. It could get crazy. Okay. All right. That works. Okay. Now, we're coming down here. These are set to being... See those crazy long numbers? They're theoretically the correct thing to do if you're trying to make it be in thirds or something. I mean, not theoretically, they are correct, but why would you deal with those sort of numbers? Because I can't do math of those numbers really quickly in my head. So we don't do that. That's just silliness. And then our width, anyway, we're going to make it be less than that. I think before we'd said we wanted to go down to 22. And then we do want it to be then the last one there is 100%. There we go. Okay, so now we're back. These guys here, and they are 22% wide. 22 times 3 is 66. And then we want to have some sort of amount between them. And why do they already have something built into them, huh? And so that's just the width of the image itself. And they're not as wide as what that width is. Okay. Well then, let's do it. Let's just leave it for now, and we won't even have a margin in there for the right now. No, that can't work, because then you got that part over there. No, that'll work, Okay. So, we'll see if it works. So then what we need to do is we need to have it be then the first one, which is actually the second one. Then we need to have it be with a margin left of 34% divided by 2, because we had 66% was the total of them. And so then we have 17%, and then now they're centered in there. Yeah, that works. Good. And we need to have a little bit, of course, more spacing in there, because it's all too cramped right now. You always want to watch out for that spacing. It's rare that there's going to be a time when we just say, oh, that's too much space. It happens, but it's more rare. Yeah, okay, so let's have a little bit of extra margin on the bottom here. How about right there? Let's go to 60 just because it's a more natural number. And then I think what we'll do is we'll make the last one here. The quickest way to do it is going to be make it have a margin top of 40 pixels. Okay. Oh yeah, we ended up doing a button there. That's right. Okay. Let's go with that then. And make that a little bit smaller. It's still just a bit of a mess, isn't it? I don't like the double boxes there. Having box, icons, box. It's too much. But we have to have the learn more. And we can't have it just be text. And so then our only option is to change this out to something different. And so then we'd have to say that we're going to have this be a different color. And we're going to take out the border. And then we'll make it without the padding. And then we'll make it bigger. I guess I could make it green. Could make the entire thing be a different color on the bottom. go. Oh, that looks kind of nice, doesn't it? I think we can make this work. Yeah. Yeah, we got to make changes in here to make this work, but we can make this work. Okay, so first, we need to separate this out from those. Oh, actually, let's do this instead. And we'll have it be... Oh, no, I don't want that one. Actually, I want that one. Or that one. Something here. Oh, I get what's going on here. We don't have the overflow set to auto. I couldn't figure out what was going on earlier either. There we go. Now, home top will cover everything. Wonderful. And then now we can also say that we want the padding on the bottom to come down a ways. Oh, and then now that wrap's actually taking effect too. When I don't want that. Max width 100%. There we go. Now we're back to what we want. Okay. Okay. And the color things we got going on here are much better looking now. Except I don't like how that one's so white right there, and so I keep not quite liking that image. But we can deal with that another time. Down here, we need to fix this. Now that green looks okay on that blue because there's enough of a contrast going on between them. But we need it to be then that these things are these simple images. I guess we haven't called them out yet in any way. Yeah, I guess I can just make the whole thing that. Yeah, so we're going to say that the background color is white. Except for I don't want it just on that one. Never mind. Background color is white. And okay, and then on the last one, then we make it so that the background color is transparent. Now, those are clustered together too much, and we need to have them be just a little bit smaller. And we need it to be that then they are, sorry, I got distracted by something else, and then we need to have a margin right on 2 of the 3, and then they will be in margin right of 3%. Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with that. And then there we go. I think that'll work. And then we need it to be then the last child, though. The last one of those 3, which is 2, 3, 4, 4. Then we need the 4th one to have no margin on the right. And did that work? Yeah, it did. Okay, now our numbers have changed though, and so now we have 17 times 3 is 51, and then we have 3 times 2 is 6, so we have 57, and then we have 43, and then 43 divided by 2 is 21.5, And so then we need to have this change over to 21.5%. And now we're back to the center. But, you know, I'm looking at this here and I'm trying to think. We'll need some padding in there too, of course. Let me go ahead and add in the padding and see what we think then. And that one just looks off-centered. I wonder why it looks off-centered. It's not actually. It's just because of that circle thing. That stuff gets annoying. We'll just leave it though. Alright, and why did this cease to be centered? Because for some reason... Oh, I see, and I don't need that inline block anymore. There we go. Let's do the same stuff to that we did to this. And so we'll just inspect this. And so we'll copy that code there. And then now we'll inspect this. And so we got everything the same, except we'll go ahead and, whoops. And then we'll put that in there. And these ones. Oh, I deleted the wrong one, I'm sorry. And then on these ones here, then we'll change out footer widgets 1 to home dash bottom. Oh, I missed that one. On the other one as well. Okay. Let's start looking through here and seeing what we think. Okay. It's still not my absolute favorite ever, but I think it's going to work. We need to have a border along the outside of these guys. And a brighter blue. And let's see that blue there. A little bit more. Something like that. And we probably don't want that on the very last one there. And so we'll say border, none. And it's definitely looking better. Let's try this out with white in it just to make sure. And yeah, that's definitely too much. We can try it with some other colors. So it could be that we have blue with white. That might be better. Yeah, it probably is still. It probably is still. And so then we would say we need to have and now we're back to where we were at before. I think that does look better. I think those need a little bit more space between them. And so we're going to increase that. And so now that's up to 6%. And so then now what we need it to be is 51 plus 12 is 63, 37, 18.5 now. And now we're back to centered. I think that's starting to look decent enough. Okay. I think I kind of like that being a different color, actually. And then now, though, that looks kind of puny comparatively, huh? So we need to have a little bit more padding. Maybe a little bit more size to the font, too. Probably that, too. Okay, let's save this at this point. There might still be some further changes that are made at some time when I come back in here, but that gets us a whole lot of the way there. And we'll finish this video up and then move on to